everyone. Welcome back to Success with Jess, or as sometimes I like to call it, Successy with Jessie. I mean, I kind of think that's kind of cute. It's like the show has a nickname now, you know? I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was pretty cute when I was listening to the podcast myself.
Patted yourself on the back.
I know. Isn't that terrible? I hate it when people do that, and I totally just did that.
I love it.
Yeah. Crazy. Okay, you know what? We're going to start this off right away, and I'm going to tell you guys, thank you so much. Like, your support on this podcast has been incredible. Like, I can't even, every time I go, like, to watch it on YouTube with everyone during the premiere, I'm like, I hope people show up. And, like, every week, more and more show up. So it's incredible, and I'm so grateful. So, therefore, it is time to part with my babies. Okay. Aww. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you how to win these babies. What you have to do is you have to be following me on Instagram, and you have to be subscribed to my YouTube channel, Success with Jess. And you have to go to my Instagram feed, and you have to find the picture of the babies, and you have to comment their names.
Oh. It's not so easy.
It's not so easy. So you must comment their names. All right? That's all you have to do. Very easy. And if you know the names, it should be very simple. And if you don't know the names, well, then you just have to go back into the podcast where I said the names and find it, you know?
Do your homework.
Do your homework. School's back in session, kids. All right. Speaking of school, you guys, I have to tell you, my daughter has so much merchandise with her little face on it. I love it. Like, when I go to Target, if there's a doll on the shelf, I have to throw it in the cart because it's just her little face, right? But I'm a grown woman, and there's nothing I can do with a doll besides just put it on a shelf or give it away to somebody. And so every once in a while, like, this is probably relatable to some moms out there might be like a pair of socks that would fit me or a bracelet that I might be able to wear or something. But now, you guys, I am in the JoJo Siwa merchandise jackpot. There are JoJo Siwa notebooks. JoJo Siwa notebooks at Walmart. Okay, you guys, this one has her face on it. This one has, like, all the cute little things she says and her dog. So imagine me going to Walmart and finding the pens. I think when I was in, like, 4th grade, I had a pen like this where you could push all the colors down. I am living my best organized mom life this fall because I'm obsessed with notebooks and stuff. Miranda, you know this. I have like 12,000 notebooks, but now I officially can shop for JoJo Siwa merchandise because this is not age specific. You know,
Cute.
this is like for all ages, and I'm so excited. It makes me so happy. So I'm just gonna sit here and, like, look at it during this podcast. So I'll just be happy the whole time. And wow, speaking of back to school, you know what I heard this week? I heard that the LA kids were not going back to school in their classrooms. I heard they were 100% gonna be at home. I can't even believe it. I think, you know, when I was a kid, I grew up in Nebraska, in Iowa, for a little bit, and we would have snow days. And if we were really lucky, we'd have 2 snow days in a row, right? Those are like the best days ever. Yes. And I just can't imagine these kids having all of these days at home. I think it might be as fun as it could be. It might be a little hard. You know, it might not be exactly what they want, and they probably miss their friends and their desk and, like, back to school night and seeing their teacher. And I mean, I can't even believe it. I just can't. But I will tell you guys that are listening to this episode, I am a homeschool mom. I've been a homeschool mom for over 10 years, and this episode is going to be me here to help you with your homeschool journey that a lot of you are going to be on this year, kind of whether you like it or not, you know. And my homeschool journey, we'll use journey because I hate the word journey, so let's just use the word journey. So why not? You know, journey. Yeah, journey. Okay, so my homeschool journey with JoJo started in kindergarten. I sent her to school in kindergarten, and she already knew how to read, and she already knew how to write, and I didn't care. I was like, you're going to go to school, you're going to wear your cute little uniform, and it's just going to be magical. Like, I got her the Hannah Montana backpack and the Hannah Montana lunch bag, and she came home from school, like, the first week, and she said, I got to go to Jaden's class today. I said, oh, you did? And she goes, yeah, I got to take the same spelling test he took. And I like totally knew this wasn't true, right? But I played along because, I mean, she's just a kid telling me a story and she wants to take a spelling test, you know? And so I was like, all right, that's cool. So a couple weeks later, we're in the car doing Jaden's spelling words and Jaden's stuck on something and she's like, come on, it's easy. And she's like telling him the answers. And sooner or later, we realized that kindergarten probably wasn't the best place for JoJo to be. Like the kids were learning the letters and their numbers as they should be, but JoJo was making up these stories and trying to do her brother's work to like supplement for her. So I didn't really know what to do. And I went and I talked to the principal and they were like, oh, it's fine. Everybody evens out, you know, and oh, it's fine is not something I ever settle with. You know, you want to tell me it's fine, it better be fine. And you better have two legs to stand on. And this guy didn't have any legs to stand on. So I took her to Sylvan. I didn't know what Sylvan was. So I took her to Sylvan Learning Center, which was incredible. I mean, JoJo loved it. And I was like, well, maybe I could sign her up for some extra math classes and we could just kind of do this for fun like we did dance classes. And to go to Sylvan, they had to test you. And for reading and math, she tested at like a 3rd grade level.
Wow.
And yeah, right? Okay. So then somebody else kind of realized what we were working with. And the director that was there said, you know, if I were you, I would take her out of school and I would homeschool her. And I was like, what? I'm like, can't I just put her in like 3rd grade? And he's like, no, you don't want that. You know, he's like, you don't want to be the youngest in your grade. It just won't be good when she's older. And if you keep her in school now, she might not really be picking up the best habits on how to learn and how to pay attention. And, you know, the best thing that we can tell you to do is to take her out and homeschool her. So I went home and I told my husband what this man had said, and he was like, let's do it. Let's take her out. So we went up to school and we told the principal we were going to take JoJo out and we were going to homeschool her. And the principal said to me, he said, yeah, JoJo's not going to be very social and she's not going to have any friends. And I was like, well, you don't know JoJo. And I'm like, because she's very social and she's going to have a lot of friends. So that was the least of my problems, you know? And so I took her out and I was like, so now what do we do? You know, and I was fortunate in Omaha. There was a homeschool store called Adorimus, and it was like a grocery store of textbooks. It was the most beautiful, big store ever. So I took her there. And we did one subject at a time. I said, find a science book that you like. And we liked books that were colorful and with lots of pictures. And I said, find a spelling book that you liked. And I let her pick out all her books, you know, so she was excited to come home and work on her books. I turned a little bedroom that we had at the time, like a little extra bedroom, into a schoolroom. And I went to the teacher store. I was such a nerd. I went to the teacher store and I bought like the ABCs like that you put around the room. And I bought like the big pencil that says like, welcome back, students. And I bought, right? And I bought like all the seasons. I made it look like a schoolroom for one person. I went to a garage sale and I got like a little old fashioned desk, you know, that had the storage under it. Like it was the most incredible, most adorable little schoolroom. And I thought it was going to be like me and JoJo sitting down and playing school every day. We'll call it playing school because I wanted to be a teacher. I wasn't a teacher. And the first day she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm helping you. And she's like, no. She's like, I'll let you know if I need help. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So I just kind of went in the other room and I did my stuff. And she did her work and I checked it. And it was incredible. And it was done. And we went and we had the most fun rest of the day. Then I gave her her first spelling test and she sat down and I gave her the paper, and before I even knew what was happening, she started writing like all these words down, and she had memorized every word, all the letters, and she was like paranoid that she was going to get something wrong. And I was like, well, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm like, this cannot be good. You know, I was like, I don't want her to be afraid to make a mistake or afraid to get something wrong or anything like that. So I was like, okay, that's cool. We're not having any more spelling tests. You know, as long as you get the work good, we're not going to have any more spelling tests. And so I went back to the homeschool teachers, I went back to the homeschool store and I talked to some of the moms that were there. I said, what did you do for your kids? And she said, we went to the park and we studied and we read and we took canvases and we painted. And she said, I tried to make everything as fun and as calm and as nice as I could for my kids. And I said, well, what do your kids do now? Well, one's a doctor and one's a teacher, and they were doing pretty good for having this peaceful home environment. So I was like, well, that's what I want to do, And so then I went to piano lessons with JoJo when she was little, and the piano teacher homeschooled her kids. And she said, well, you know what we try to do? We try to do all our schoolwork Monday through Thursday so we can have a long weekend. And I was like, you can do that? And, I was young. I didn't know. Right. And she's like, you can do whatever you want to do. And I was like, wow. She's like, as long as your kids are learning what they're supposed to learn, Jessalyn, why would it matter? And I was like, well, it shouldn't matter. I literally my mind was blown with this revelation of I could just make this as great as I wanted to for my kid. And so that's what we decided. We were like, we are a dance family. We dance a lot on the weekends. And so let's try to do that. Let's try to do school Monday through Thursday and take Friday off and go somewhere fun. Let's go to the zoo. Let's go to the park. And I got to tell you, in the beginning, I tried to join these little homeschool groups, because there's a stigma around homeschoolers. We all are thinking it. Okay. So I'm going to say it. The homeschooler people are not cool, except for me, I'm just saying. Okay. So the homeschoolers, they got a bad rap, Okay. So they're kind of maybe people think of them as they live on the farm or their kids are awkward or they don't really know. But I'm here to tell you, that's not the truth. The homeschool people are cool, all right? I met a lot of cool people through homeschool, but I did meet those people that I was just referring to, So we went to the first homeschool class at the art museum, and JoJo looked like JoJo. She had her little bow in her hair, and she had a little skirt on, a little sequiny jacket, and there were several kids there that had long dresses on and long hair. And I was like, JoJo, just go do your thing. There's this whole trying to fit in, even in a homeschool group. So even though those kids were different, she still loved being with them. So I guess I just want to tell you, don't be afraid of those people because they're super sweet. They're super nice. They weren't exactly like us, but we loved them. And it was cool for JoJo to see different kids and why they were homeschooling. And, we would take class at the art museum, and then she would go take class at the zoo. And then she would go take class at the children's museum. And it was all these kids, and we just kind of did all these classes together. And there were some pretty cool opportunities. And once I figured out I could tailor school the way I wanted to for JoJo, it was incredible. And the more independent I let her be, the more she thrived, honestly. And I know that doesn't work for every kid, but it worked perfect for her. And it's funny, if she wanted help, she would say to me, can you come and be a hovercraft? And I was like, oh, what? And she's like, you can come be a hovercraft. And I was like, oh, that means, you need help. And then if I was helping her and she was done with my help, she'd be like, okay, you can stop being a hovercraft now. I'm good. I got this, So it was just whatever worked. And then, she was like, I want to do all my schooling on a laptop. I don't want to do books anymore. Because it was kind of, we were in that transition phase where a lot of it was online, but it wasn't all online yet. So I was like, well, let's try online. Online was a lot of work. It was hard because she wasn't really good at typing yet. So parents that are trying to give their kids a laptop right now and say, do your school, it was very hard for her because she didn't know how to type. She could write, but typing was slowing us down. So then after realizing typing was slowing us down, I was like, let's do some typing classes. Let's go back to the books and then we'll go back to that. So you just got to figure out what works for you. But I'm here to tell you, embrace it. Love it. If you have the opportunity right now to homeschool and be with your kids, I promise you it can be a life-changing, super good, most amazing, best opportunity ever. And I don't regret one day of homeschooling with JoJo. I wish Jaden would have homeschooled. We always gave him the option to homeschool, but he was always like, Mom, I'm going to school, But there was a lot of days where Tom would come home from lunch from 12 to 2 and Tom and JoJo and I would have lunch, and I would think, oh, I wish Jaden was here to be a part of this. You know, like our little family would be even closer than it already is, but it wasn't right for him, you know, and unfortunately, some kids don't have the choice right now, but Jaden had the choice. So please, 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 if you get to homeschool your kids, enjoy it. You know, and I was talking to both Jaden and JoJo before we did this episode. We were talking about their difference in schooling, and one thing we talked about is taking a break is okay. This is something that I taught Jaden, actually. He was like into YouTube, really into it, then not into it, then really into it, then not into it. And I was like, Jaden, we're going to take a break. We're going to take November off. We're going to take December off. And then in January, on the 15th, we're going to decide if you want to come back to this or not. And he was like, well, why are we taking a break, Mom? And I was like, because sometimes doing nothing is better than doing the wrong thing. And so after Christmas, Jane was like, Mom, I'm so excited to start YouTube back up again. Like, I can't wait. And I was like, cool, let's talk about it on the 15th. You know, as much as excited as he was then, I made him wait until the 15th. And now he is excited. He loves it. I think the break for him was exactly what he needed to find the love. So the moral of my story is, you know, I'm like the teacher right now. I feel like this is a really educational podcast. The moral of my story is if you're homeschooling and you're having a bad day and it's not working and your kids don't want to learn and you're overwhelmed, take the day off. Have a movie day. Go outside. Go for a walk. Do whatever is fun for you. And you know what? If you need to do it for 2 days in a row, it's gonna be okay. And you're gonna be even better when you come back to it. So that is my little best advice that I can give you. Enjoy it, love it. If you need a break from it, take a break and then come back to it.
Love that.
Thank you.
So there are some classic school-based activities that are considered very much rites of passage. So programs, performances, proms, homecomings, things like that. How did you, because you had kids both in public school or traditional school, I should say, and in homeschooling. Yeah. So how did you manage that, I guess, for both of them or for each of them separately?
Yeah. Well, the school programs are something I loved. There's nothing better than at Christmas to go up to school and hear your kids sing the holiday songs. And, you know, I the first year I said to JoJo, we were watching Jaden's program and we always went during the day. And I was like, honey, do you feel bad? You know, do you wish that you were with the kids sitting on the floor and up on there singing the Christmas songs? And she's like, no, why would you say that? She was so happy in her own world. She couldn't imagine that, you know, and Jaden was always the child that got the one line that every kid got. You know, he never got the lead. He never got the extra line. I always joke about Jaden because where he went to school, he was average, good, nice, never got in trouble. He never needed extra help. And he never was super honors student. So he just kind of went through school and they didn't give him anything extra, but he didn't need anything extra on the other side. So he was cool. He was cool to go to the school play and say, hi, everybody, I'm Jaden. Welcome to the play. And that was it. You know, he didn't really get to do anything. And it was just what was right for each kid. And as high school would come along for JoJo, you know, I would say, you know, what about high school football games and things? And she's like, no, I'm good. She always felt like she was okay, you know? So I guess I just took the lead from her. You know, if she was oh, look at all those kids. They're at the high school game. I wish we could go. I would be ooh, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. But I just took the lead from her. And I feel like it's hard to be a kid in school. I feel like kids always feel like they have to fit in. And my son told me this last night. This was really interesting. He said, Mom, school is 24 hours a day. He said, now because of social media, it's never ending with your friends and trying to fit in. And if somebody's giving you a hard time, it doesn't end at school. It carries over on social media. So I think being homeschooled, JoJo missed out on all of that. So which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah.
So grateful for.
Yeah, and for families who are now having to deal with their kids being out of public schools, like you were saying, that whole bullying thing might be a nice break.
It might be a nice break. Yeah. I was talking about that with JoJo. And I think, you know, for those kids that worry about who they're going to sit by at lunch, or if somebody is giving them a hard time, being home and being with your family, that takes all of that away from them. So maybe if anything good comes out of this, when we do get to go back to normal life, there will be less bullying and all that will have kind of like faded away and subsided, and kids don't have to deal with that anymore. I hate it.
So at one point, though, you had both kids doing online schooling, right?
I sure did.
How did you manage that? What did that look like?
Jaden was a little trickier.
Okay.
We'll start with that.
All right.
Okay. So I have one kid that's like, I can do everything myself. And then I have another kid that's like, well, if you're not going to look at me, I'm not going to do it. You know?
Okay.
So that's kind of how, once I figured out Jaden, I hired a tutor right away. Because he was in high school, you guys. And we just had to finish his junior and senior year when he moved here. And he wasn't used to working with me. I didn't want to be like his mommy that was his teacher. So I did hire a tutor. I shouldn't call it a tutor. I should call it a teacher to come over like 3 days a week and work with him. And he loved it. It was like, he thought he was the coolest thing. He had his own private teacher and it was fabulous. You know, my husband and I, we probably could have done it ourselves, but it was just what was right for Jaden. And JoJo like had the same teacher at one point in time too. She worked with this guy too. And he even commented, it's just like funny how one kid can just like sit down and do it. And the other kid, you need to be like, oh, you didn't do your math last night. Okay, well, we need to get this done, you know? So that was my experience with having two kids online. But my kids are done with school.
Hey.
I am done with all of it. I survived my kids going to school and going to homeschool and taking them both out of school and putting them in online school. And I wouldn't do it any other way. So it's good, but I survived. So I should get these pens from Walmart because I survived.
So when I was growing up, science was a subject that I like did not love, but I loved a lot of other things, right?
Yeah.
Was there a subject or something that you kind of had to be a little more pushy maybe about?
Oh, yeah.
To get them involved?
This is brilliant that you're asking me this. Okay, because let's flash back to 6th grade, Jess. Okay? Okay, so do you guys know those like Scholastic readers that get sent home?
Yes.
Okay, so I literally would buy every book. I was like a dork, okay? I was the one that was walking out of school with my arms full and all my books, and I would get in the carpool. And this mom that was driving said to me, did you buy all those books? And I was like, yeah, my mom bought them for me. Like, the carpool lady was like bullying me for buying books, okay? But I was like, I love books so much. And I couldn't read enough and I couldn't read fast enough. And my sister, to this day, I always used to babysit my sister in the summer while my parents were at work. And for lunchtime, we would make like a frozen pizza or something, and I would just read while we ate. And she would be like, are you going to talk to me? And I'll be like, no, I'm reading. If you want to read, there's a book. And she would be like, I just like the Where's Waldo books. You know, like she didn't like want to read. Okay, so I was like a reader. So then I had my kids, and neither one of them liked to read. And so with JoJo and me being in control, I bought every book possible. I bought Little House on the Prairie. I bought Ramona and Beezus. I bought The Babysitter's Club. I bought Judy Blume. How do you not love Judy Blume? Okay. JoJo had zero interest in this. And I'm like, but you're never going to learn about Laura Ingalls Wilder and like Nellie. Like, how can you not want this? And I was just like so frustrated. And so I took her to the bookstore and I'm like, well, we got to find books. Okay. So she ended up liking the Who Was Walt Disney, you know, like those I Survived the Titanic. She ended up liking nonfiction books. So I just had to tailor, you know, and then once I figured out she liked nonfiction books, I could give her autobiographies and biographies and real things to read. Like when she was little, we would read the Guinness Book of World Records. So it's like, that's the beauty of homeschool. Like if your kid doesn't want to read The Trumpet and the Swan that you're reading in school, you can read the Guinness Book of World Records and you can talk about it and you can like try to make a world record yourself and invent a world record or try to break one. So there's always ways to tailor homeschool. That's one thing I loved the best about it. So yeah, that's my reading story. Yes.
Great. Do you have any recommendations for like specific curriculum that you use that you really enjoyed or that the kids were really into?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, if I could tell anyone what curriculum to use, it would be Monarch. That was the best for both of my kids, and I've tried quite a few. So I've got a lot of experience in trying. And, it's just kind of what works for everyone, what each to their own. But Monarch, the schedule is the most flexible. They have a huge selection of classes. I mean, they have everything from languages to personal finance to obviously your required classes like English and literature, and they don't have handwriting, which is interesting. So yeah, you have to get a handwriting book. And what's interesting also is a lot of people don't teach cursive anymore.
Oh, no.
No. So I did teach it to JoJo, but she never uses it. So a lot of people substitute typing for cursive. But yeah, if you're looking at a curriculum, I would definitely look at Monarch. It's easy. It's simple. A lot of people use K-12, which is an amazing curriculum too, or Connections Academy, but it's a little more you got to do it and you got to be and I just kind of like to, if I want to do school on Sunday night, I want to do school on Sunday night, so I'm more like that kind of a homeschool mom, but definitely Monarch. Yes.
So for parents and families that are going to dive back into schooling online, not going to the traditional school site like they're used to, they may be feeling overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. It may get exhausting and frustrating. Mm-hmm. Any advice or tips for how to manage that?
Honestly, I would take a day off.
Yeah.
I would take a couple of days off. I like to go to bed at night and be excited about what's to come for tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be my advice to every family that is homeschooling, whether it's a project or a subject or a day off or something special. Definitely make something that you have something to look forward to every day. When my kids are little, we used to make a paper chain. And let's just say, because it's relatable, we're going to Disney World, okay? And we're going to Disney World, and a normal family would say, we're going to Disney World in 4 months. So we're going to take a paper chain and we're going to cut 120 strips, right? And on those 120 strips, we're going to write something that we're excited about for our trip. This was my favorite thing to do with my kids. Okay, so we could be eating popcorn, riding Space Mountain, flying on an airplane, riding in the stroller because JoJo was little, dinner with the characters. It could be the swimming in the pool. It's 120 things that you're excited about. And then when you cut them off, you don't know what order they're in. So then you talk about them. Oh. So that was kind of what we did. And I think we were going to Australia this year, and my kids are really, really excited. And you know what they said to me? My kids are old. They were 17. No, they were 16 and 19 at the time. And they're like, we should make a paper chain. I know, right? So, maybe make a paper chain on Sunday night for things you're excited for during the weekend. Every day, cut one off and talk about it. It's easy to make cookies. Why wouldn't you make cookies and do reading and eat cookies and milk? It's so fun. When I took JoJo to Sylvan, the coolest thing there is they had music on, they had snacks, they had drinks. JoJo was doing long division, tapping to music, having a snack, and learning at the same time. So find out what works for you and make it awesome. If I could homeschool right now, I would clear out my whole dining room. I would make it a classroom, and I would make my kids so excited to do it. And you know what? I know in the back of your mind, you're scared and it's hard and it's a crazy time right now, but don't let your kids see that. Please don't let your kids see that. It's important that your kids know that you got it. And I think that's one thing I've always told JoJo and Jaden is I got this. I got you, and I got this, and everything's going to be okay. And I think if you can reassure your kids that's the best thing you can do for them.
Good advice.
Thanks, Miranda. You guys, thank you so much for watching this super educational episode of Success with Jess. Oh my God, I feel like I'm a doctor of education, but anyways, I'm really not. I'm actually a rhinestoner, and I'm about to give these cups away. Yes, so let's talk about these cups. Let's talk about, this mama cup is huge today. Okay, so we are giving these away because we love you guys. This was an educational episode. So if you're about to homeschool next year, I love you for it. Dive into it. Have so much fun. And if you're about to win these cups, go to my Instagram, look for the picture, and comment their names down below. Follow me everywhere and subscribe. Thank you guys so much. Love your life, and I love you guys.